you have a decided advantage, a significant advantage, maybe one you aren't 100% aware of in the dating market, and to a greater extent in the business environment today. Because there's a quality, a necessary quality, that people need to feel when they want to get into a long-term relationship with somebody, whether that long-term relationship is for business purposes or for romantic purposes. And that quality that's missing today is one of integrity, of your ability to look inside your brain, maybe consciously, maybe unconsciously. And when you look inside your brain, you see a highly calibrated set of behavioral constraints, things you won't allow yourself to do, because while they might get you short-term benefits, you know either from experience yourself or from observing other people that these short-term benefits will come at significant long-term costs. And when you understand this integrity, when you appreciate your integrity and you allow this integrity to organically bleed through your behaviors, radiate through your language, kind of shine through your subconscious behaviors, this will set you apart subconsciously, not from everybody, but those that have equally high levels of integrity. Because let's face it, not a lot of people have integrity today, not like you. Most people have been brainwashed by social media. Most people have had their attention spans hammered down so far, they can't even really think long term, let alone understand how their actions today can negatively impact their long-term prospects. But somebody like you does understand this. Somebody like you who has an experience of looking inside your mind and calibrating the structure of your behavior as far as what you do to what you get. You have a highly robust, a comparatively strong, a relatively strong sense of personal integrity. Now, I don't know how much of this is consciously aware for you. I don't know how much of this is something that is just subconscious, that just kind of comes out based on an intuition of it's okay to do this, but it's not okay to do this. But you have a comparatively strong sense of integrity. And any kind of future relationship you might ease yourself into is going to be significantly enhanced when you lead with your integrity. When you let your integrity lead the conversation. When you let your integrity lead how the potential relationship unfolds over time. I used to work in this biomedical laboratory, and we were doing these experiments, a lot of experiments on this prototype product that was supposed to be version 2.0 of our flagship product. But the people involved had kind of given up. And they were still going to work every day, but they had one foot in the present and another foot in their hopefully better future. But this meant that their present came at the expense of their hopefully better future, because they stopped putting all their efforts into this version 2.0. And I had to test this product, this device, this machine that was used during open heart surgery. And I had to test this device using bovine blood, using huge amounts of bovine blood. But because these engineers that were building these prototypes had one foot in the present that they were just pretending to care about while looking for another job, because they had kind of inwardly already made the decision that this product was going to work, they didn't put their 100% effort into this product. So it would always leak like crazy. And it was hugely frustrating. I would set this product up. I would try to test this product, fill it up with bovine blood, and it would just leak blood, squirt blood all over the place. I watched a movie a couple of weeks ago with Tom Hardy, A very, very well acted movie, a very, very well written movie. And the movie was about him in his car driving somewhere on the phone. That was the entire movie, him having a conversation on the phone. But it was hugely metaphorical. It was all about laying the foundation, because in the car he was on the way to meet a woman that he had an affair with. He cheated on his wife with, and she was giving birth. And he realized that that was a very critical time in that baby's life at the very beginning, so he wanted to lay a foundation for this kid's life. At the same time, the foundation of his marriage was shaky. At the same time, he was going away from his job, and the next day they had a very important thing to do at his job, and his job was to oversee the laying of the concrete of a commercial building. And so there's all these metaphors about having a foundation, having a strong foundation for a healthy life, having a strong foundation for a healthy building, having a strong foundation or a weak foundation for a healthy marriage. And so there's all these metaphors throughout the movies that if you don't lay a strong foundation, then whatever you build on top of that foundation is going to be weak. There's a whole lot of similar metaphors and a lot of ancient pre-historical, pre-antiquity scriptural texts, spiritual texts that talk about the foundation for a healthy life. And there's all kinds of metaphors about laying the foundation for a building and putting the building on top of the foundation, and using this metaphor in these spiritual texts. So it's been something that's been understood since the dawn of time, since before the dawn of time, that if you don't have a solid foundation, you can't build something on top of that foundation, or whatever you do build on top of that non-solid foundation won't last very long. And this is the problem in modern dating today, modern relationships. Nobody really has any integrity. Nobody really has a solid foundation upon which they want to build a relationship. Everybody, most everybody, not everybody, but most everybody is only interested in short-term benefits. And everybody is perfectly fine gaining short-term benefits at the expense of not only long-term success, but the happiness of other people. Which is why the modern dating market is in a train wreck. Because very few people can even have the brain power, the attention span to think long term, to understand how actions today have ramifications for the rest of your life. Which is why people that use the persuasion sequence have such an easy time closing people. Because if you're a short-term, sleazy salesperson, you ask the other person questions to get just enough of their desires to sell them something based on their desires. You ask them questions to get just enough of their pain points to use those pain points to try to sell them something. But a salesperson with real integrity, a real inner sense of a desire for mutual benefit, is going to be much more thorough in expanding the desire map of the person they're talking to. Not just the good things they want, but the bad things they want to avoid. And this comes across subconsciously as the salesperson, the person using the persuasion sequence of having a genuine interest in the desires of the other person so they can create a potential mutually beneficial relationship. It's as if the salesperson looks at the customer and says, look, I would love to sell you something. I would love to get a big fat commission so that I can pay my rent. But I only want to sell you something if you're going to benefit from this exchange as much as I might benefit from this exchange. In fact, I would rather not sell you something and get all kinds of referrals from you than sell you something and get a bad review from you or get bad recommendations from you to other people. So let's have a discussion. Let's find out exactly what you want. Let's find out exactly what you don't want. That way we can have the best possible chance of having a mutual beneficial relationship. And this is what you get when you have real, long-term, genuine, comparatively strong integrity. Because a deep subconscious desire is to create these long-term, mutually beneficial relationships with other people. And once people realize that you have a strong sense of integrity, they will want to create these mutual beneficial relationships with you, even if they're not beneficial all the time. If you just talk to them long enough to find out what each other people want, and then maybe you'll have a relationship, maybe you won't, but that will create itself a deeper relationship. Because if you have integrity, if you're genuinely concerned with building long-term, lifelong relationships, friendships, colleague relationships, romantic relationships, business relationships with other people, they will sense this. Now, it might be hard to find these people in the world today because so many people lack integrity. So many people are only looking for short-term benefits and they don't care what happens in the long term. That's how you need to, or that's why you need to use your integrity to qualify people, to find out what they really want, to see if there really is a long-term potential, and to be completely honest to share with them what you want. And if you find out what they want as much as possible, and if you share what you want as much as possible on a foundation of integrity, you can create a fantastically strong relationship that can last an entire lifetime.